Hey, what's going on guys? This is Reborn here. For a quick video, I wanted to discuss what combat should you set your heroes to. And this can go to any form of heroes, not just the particular heroes that I run. And I also be sure to want to say check out the other videos I have on hero builds that I will put in the description as well as at the end of this video. So let's go ahead and get started. So I pulled this from Wiki, and this is the three different options. You have fight, guard, and avoid. So the biggest question is obviously you're not going to ever really want to use avoid. I used to use avoid for my healers, meaning that I want my monks to not be in combat at all. I don't want them to have a fight. I don't want them to even really be in guard mode because I would assume that they're still going to be in battle. But when I looked into Wiki, it made a little more sense on how you know what to choose into it. So a lot of people don't realize this, but you actually can just go to Wiki and search combat, and it will show up the options and the different things that each of the three combats do. So we'll go ahead and start off with fight. Fight shows how heroes will aggressively confront enemies. They're going to attack in priority order called targets. So if we call a target, selected targets within the spirit range of the hero, as well as non-selected enemies actively engaged within the party, and then also non-selected enemies within the hero's aggro range. So that means even if you don't select an enemy around you, they're still going to fight it. So that's why I normally set my mesmers or any of my combat heroes, say a dervish or a warrior, or Elementus to fight because you want them to do that. The only reason you would never want them not to fight would be if you're trying to run through areas or there's a particular area that you don't want to aggro. Then fight would not be the option. But most likely any of your heavy damage rolls or casters, rangers, or melee professions for your heroes would probably 90% recommend putting them into fight mode, as you can see I have for my three mesmers and also for my necro. So this is where we're going to go to the next topic of how you know if I need to do a support hero, which is, as I'm showing you here, the necro is support hero because it has some support skills as well. So let's go ahead and see what guard says. So guard shows that a hero will guard the area near a flag or the controlling player. So depending on how you play the game, if you're flagging a lot in PvE, then maybe this would be the good option as well. For example, the mission Eternal Grove, where you flag into two sets of 3 party heroes per area, since you're going to have your heroes separated. You want to make sure that you don't get them separated. 3 heroes in one area and then 4 in the other. And you want to maybe set them to guard, that way they can focus on that particular area. So also it says they will not attack enemies unless in priority order forced to use a skill. So if you're forcing them to use a skill, such as selecting the target is called, or selecting enemy actively engaging the party. So stuff like this would make sense to use in guard. You can literally read this up on Wiki, but I wanted to make a discussion on it and ask you guys what particular decisions do y'all do as to say, well, why do you use guard, why do you use attack, or why do you use avoid? And also in the guard mode, they will not move beyond the guarded area unless forced to use a skill and the target is out of range, as well as they will return to guarded area after using a force skill. So that shows that despite the enemies in the area in guard mode, they're not going to particularly be ready to be aggressive. So that's why I've learned in the past that I used to run a lot of my heroes in guard, but now that I've found out that actually guard is not making me as aggressive, so I'm not killing as fast. My heroes aren't rapidly wanting to kill the enemies around me, so that's why I recommended as earlier to put attack for any of your heavy damage rolls, such as your mesmers, your elementus, warrior, necro, dervish, etc. It doesn't matter. As long as they're a heavy damage roll, I recommend putting them on fight. Now let's go into avoid. So I used to use avoid for my healers, as I mentioned, like monks, when I used to use monks, because I assume that they're never going to be in battle. But let's see what it says. Heroes never attack and will attempt to avoid enemies when attacked, which basically they will not attack selected or called targets unless forced to use a skill, which obviously force would mean you would click the skill. And they generally will not use skills that directly target foes or cause blank area of effect damage. They will use skills that indirectly affect the enemy. Okay, that makes sense. So like summoning skills that bring forth minions or spirits. Okay, this is making sense. Item spells that require activating urns and dropping items. Warps. So that makes sense. I can see why I would use a monk for a void. Maybe it's a good option to use a void or guard for your ST writ. If you use a soul twisting writ in your party, Would Avoid be better than Guard? That's a good question. I personally use Guard, but Avoid may be another good alternative for a Spirit Spammer if you use a Spirit Spammer, as well as if you're using a BIP hero. If you have BIP and a healer support, maybe Avoid is better than Guard. The only reason I'm saying that is because they're not doing any damage, so why would you want them to be in an aggressive mode or even in battle mode with attack? So that's a question or discussion that maybe you guys can give feedback with in the comments. I'm no expert on this. This is just a good commentary. I had somebody ask me yesterday about it. I said, hey, why not? I'll make a video on it. So I'm just making a quick little commentary on this. So that's all I got for you guys. If y'all have any questions, feel free to ask. I appreciate you guys always watching. Subscribe if you haven't, and go ahead and check out some of the hero build videos I've made. I'll be putting right here, right now. You guys should be seeing in the end screen, as well as the links below. So I got plenty of other videos to come, so stay tuned for that. And once again, if you'll have any questions or ideas or comments about this topic discussion, feel free to bring it up. I'd like to see what some of you guys do. It's good to see what everybody's doing in the game, because just because this game is 15 years old doesn't mean that there could be still new things to learn. I'm still learning on a weekly basis, so this is fun topics to discuss. So anyway, until next time, Reborn out.